Hi, and welcome back to Giving Back, a new show that my friend Sunny Daly and I are co-hosting to talk to folks about the variety of important local nonprofit organizations that are here on Nantucket so that you can have a better sense of who they are, what they do, why you should be supporting them. Now, Sunny and I talked in the first piece of this episode a little bit about the Community Foundation, which is really, whose purpose really is to make sure that all of these organizations are supported. But now we've got a special guest who it turns out was actually Sunny's former employer. Who could believe it, right? But now, they're in different worlds. And I think we're gonna hear a little bit about that story. Chris Morris, I think, is like the voice for many of you, not necessarily the face, but definitely the voice of Nantucket Youth Sports. And we're gonna talk about the NCTV supported program to develop that youth sports initiative. So thank you very much, Chris, for coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I can't wait to talk about sports.
And I'm just dying to hear more about the backstory. So once again, so you guys have known each other for a while here?
It's almost 30 years now. You say 20, it's 30 years we go back now, Sonny, probably. Yes, in former lives of ours, I was still in the restaurant business and hospitality, but yes, back in the day, she strolled in our restaurant and hired her right off the street. And now look at her. She's the executive director of one of our most amazing foundations out here. So congratulations.
Which is doing terrific stuff.
Absolutely.
But Chris, you've been doing some terrific stuff yourself.
Thank you.
For several years, I was actually on the board here at NCTV. And one of the things that we were really trying to focus on was something that Dan Driscoll, the chairman of the board, really wanted to focus on, which was to say, the sports piece, the youth sports piece is crucial to the development of this sense of community here, which means it's crucial to the role of NCTV. And it was just a few years ago that we really decided to focus on trying to grow what you had done, right, into this really substantial sports initiative. So can you just talk a little bit about that, how that happened,
Sure.
What is going on right now, what it's costing you? What the future holds? Just talk to us about it.
So,
and I know you're shy, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid now.
It's okay. I'm not used to being on camera.
On camera,
usually
yeah,
I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, the actual Nantucket Sports Connection happened. It was created by myself and Sean Davis 4 years ago when COVID hit. I got a phone call from the athletic director at the time, Chris Morey, and he was like, "Hey, we're getting kids back on the fields and on the courts. Is there anything you can help out to get it there?" Parents weren't allowed in the gyms. Nobody was able to see what they were actually trying to accomplish and getting back in action athletically. And so I said, sure. I had worked with him through the years on radio and also doing some basketball games on the score table. And so we started with a basketball game. I had my phone, I had a tripod, and I had an earphone. And masks, of course.
And masks, yeah.
And kids were in masks. So it wasn't the prettiest picture, but we were able to give it to Whalers Nation game one. We did a basketball game that they won. And I provided some commentation, but moreover, parents were able to see their children in competition.
Right.
So that evolved into, a couple days later, I did a girls hockey game. After that game, I realized we need some help. This is well beyond me, certainly. So I called up NCTV immediately and knew that they had at least a resource or a direction that they could help me. And Lisa and I have known each other for a long time, the executive director here. And so she connected me with Sean Davis, who is an amazing photographer and videographer out here and a former Nantucket High School student. So we took it on. We went head first, and sure enough, 30 some odd live stream, athletic competitions later, we were in Stoneham, Massachusetts, following our hockey team to a playoff game off island now. So NCTV provided us with all the equipment, all the resources. They provided us a platform in addition to YouTube, which we were able to do, but they provided the legwork behind that to make it all happen. And we were able to celebrate our kids going off island and competing against, again, a top tier team in hockey from this little island of Nantucket.
Yep.
And so now that was, 2021, winter of 2021. We just accomplished last year 82 live games.
Wow.
In 9 months.
When you say last year, so during the last season?
23-24
Yep.
season. So we go from the fall to the spring of the following year.
Yeah.
And that included, of course, our state championship in lacrosse, which was an unbelievable ride for this entire community. And you talked about community in the opening piece. Whaler Blue is a large part of what this community really is at heart. There's a lot of pride involved in that. There's generational celebration through that. And to be able to provide this community with, I guess I call it a service, but really it's a celebration of their children against, going up in competition against the best in the state of Massachusetts in all sports. I mean, we cover volleyball, football, field hockey. Then in the wintertime, boys and girls, basketball and hockey. And then in the springtime, we added baseball in addition to, the boys and girls lacrosse teams, which, again, the success that this little island has had in those sports statewide. We honestly hit the jackpot in the last 4 years, and we've been very lucky to have just incredible athletes, a double All-American in girls lacrosse. We've got kids that are playing at the next level in a lot of those sports. And I'd like to think that we at least had a small tidbit of help exposing those and getting those kids an opportunity to play at the next level. And who knows what happens after that at the next level. Maybe somebody goes into coaching after that.
So you think this is the right guy to be the
100%.
You're going to have to cut me off here,
100%.
Arthur.
the sports booster for this community?
But, bringing in the Community Foundation for Nantucket, that was, once we got to the point where it was, we needed extra funding besides just the small amount of businesses that we were able to corral. NCTV has certainly stepped up and helped us organize, and even conversations with Sunny once she got into the position over at the Community Foundation for Nantucket. First thing they did was help support us immediately. And they've also provided, guidance in helping write grants for things. Obviously, I have to mention the Nantucket Golf Club Foundation because they are our founding underwriter. It would never have gotten to the point it is without their incredible help. And as you all know, they help a lot of us, and especially the youth of Nantucket, trying to pursue whatever they want to pursue beyond Nantucket's.
I remember going with some folks from NCTV out to the golf club, right? And we were talking to the director, who's
Tommy Brissett,
yes, at the golf about this possibility for doing this kind of initial major support, because this is something that's going to cost them upfront money, and they were willing. But he had to cut the meeting short because he needed to catch the boat to go see one of his kids playing off island.
Classic.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just perfect.
Yeah.
So one of the things I had heard was that once again you talk about Whaler Blue, right? Was about the incredibly high percentage of students who participate here.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, I don't know the exact number, but it is upwards of 70% of today's Nantucket youth are participating in some sort of format of athletic competition. Again, the youth programs here, unbelievable. It's unbelievable that they have the numbers that they have. The football team had the highest roster, the most amount of kids go out for it in a couple decades, I think.
Well, it's because they want to be on TV now. Everybody wants to be on TV.
It helps.
They may.
It helps.
It definitely, again, the opportunity to play at the next level.
When your dad's seeing it on a live screen at the bar,
I had a student athlete. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. Yep, absolutely.
And Arthur and Sonny, it's not just the group here.
Yeah.
We say Whalers Nation, and it is truly across the nation, internationally even. Some of my favorite stories, again, on YouTube, you can kind of chime in from where you're from or say go Whalers or whatever. And then we also get notes before and after. And a couple of the coaches say, hey, my grandparents or my kids' grandparents are tuning in from Ireland. They're across the pond or down in Florida or New Mexico. I will say my favorite one, and I'll give a shout out to Ian Williams. He chimed in watching the hockey playoff game from 33,000 feet in an airplane. He paid for the internet.
Cool.
It was able to stream the game live and was able to chime in route back home from his holiday. But it really is, Whalers Nation has evolved into something, again, beyond even what I thought. And certainly the finances make sure that happened. And again, I think your idea of legacy giving for NCTV and specific to sports is they're never going away. In fact, they're not doing nothing but growing and expanding.
So tell us about. You talked about some of the number of games from last season.
Sure.
What would you say is the total number of games that are going to be covered this season?
I mean, again, we'll probably shoot pretty close to that. We already had the fall season kind of winding down here. We do have a couple of football games left, including an amazing opportunity to go up to Fenway and watch the guys for the 44th annual Island Cup game. So that'll be on the 26th. Again, kudos to whomever was involved in that. But that will be an opportunity, again, for kids to be seen at a higher level, for the exposure for our football team to be able to be seen by many, many, many. And we're looking forward to, which will be obviously a once-in-a-lifetime kind of event for NCTV and our crew.
For sure. I couldn't believe the
I know.
Cup was going to Fenway, right?
What a treat.
And that the person producing this show right now is the person who produced the history of the Island Cup.
Absolutely, and
right?
we're proud.
At the opening of which was where we met.
Exactly.
This is such a small island.
It is indeed. The circle is like 2 degrees of separation.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about money, right? So you've got a season that thinking for the season you're getting 80 some odd games, right? I was mentioning kind of before when we were just kind of talking that I have a friend who, as it happens, actually knows Mother Teresa because of her work doing nonprofit stuff. And she said one of Mother Teresa's mantras from Mother Teresa: no money, no mission. This is coming from Mother Teresa, right?
Well, she says it well.
So tell us about what will it cost this year to do what you are now doing? How much of that do you have, and therefore how much do you need, right?
Sure.
And what is your vision for the future for what you could be doing, and what would that cost?
Yeah.
Order of magnitude.
So obviously, numbers vary based on how many games we're doing. But if we're, going off of what we did last year, which I think is a pretty good number, without excluding playoff games. And again, we were able to travel to a couple of places, which immediately triples the costs of things. But is, I think, a necessary expense, because when we're celebrating playoffs, I mean, they don't come around every year, especially when you get into the higher levels where we're going off island, which is usually a semifinal or a final. Those are worth not only the video, but I'll talk about a future project.
Give me a number.
So the
total cost for this year, ballpark
is about $100,000.
$100,000. If you were doing, and how much of that do you already have in the bank, and how much of that do you need to raise?
Last year, the Nantucket Golf Club Foundation was generous enough to give us half of that right off the top. Is that going to happen every year? We don't know.
No.
I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
It would be nice to think that way, but I think that is a good ballpark number. So that leaves us gathering $50,000. To cover costs of a lot of different things, including staff, equipment. Fortunately, we have done an excellent job, and I have to mention Charles Douglas, because he is our liaison here, and really, I morphed him from his government work into the sports division, and he has taken the ball and absolutely run with it. His work is, again, should be noted, because it would not exist in the visual and he makes us look as cool as we can, which is a challenge.
So now I just want a couple of other questions. So tell me, how much remains to be raised this year in order to cover the $50,000 that you
We're
need?
a little ahead of where we were last year in the fall. Again, we're challenged with.
Don't tell me that. Just tell me a number.
Sure. So
how much?
We got about $40,000 still that we need to come up with.
That you need to come up with
this year's budget.
And when you say this year, by the end of the season.
By the end of the season.
Really
by the beginning of spring.
Right. And if you were doing what you would like to be doing.
Sure.
Right. How much would that budget be? If you wanted to expand to everything you wanted to do, how much would that budget be?
So I think a reasonable addition would be in the 20% more than that. So if we got 125,000 all day, then we could start including things like away games that mean something.
Right.
Not necessarily just playoff games. We could expand our student involvement, which has grown exponentially in the last year. We've got all student crews. We've got a commentator that has done his own game without anyone else guiding him.
And now I just want to kind of,
Yeah.
I want to close with the way that you think about, so that's how much they need right now. You
Sure.
know how much they need. They're going to be coming to get it. You can't make an ask right now, but they're going to be coming for you. But the way you think about legacy giving is you say to yourself, how much do I need in order to make that amount of money show up forever? And the way you do that is you take the amount that you need and you multiply by 25. It's very simple because that number generates 4% per year forever. So say that you were rounding at $150,000,
Yep.
right? Times 25 would be $4.5 million, right? $4.5 million in legacy giving would cause all of these programs to be available to you and your children and your grandchildren forever. On that note, I want to end our first show of what, as I mentioned, what I hope are going to be many shows just to talk about giving back. I was talking a lot to Chris today because we're talking a lot about sports. I think on our next show we're going to be talking human services, and so I think we're going to be having Sunny sit in this chair.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and we look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Giving Back. Thank you.